Hey there! Did you know Kroger always gives you savings and rewards on top of our lower-than-low prices? And when you download the Kroger app, you'll enjoy over $500 in savings every week with digital coupons. And don't forget fuel points to help you save up to $1 per gallon at the pump. Want to save even more? With a Boost membership, you'll get double fuel points and free delivery. So shop and save big at Kroger today. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Savings may vary by state. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to your post-match Raw on Anfield Index Pro. I'm Trev Downey and I'm joined to get the reactions to Liverpool 0, Crystal Palace 1, and it looks like a dream dying in the Premier League from Anfield by Dave Hendrick and Jim Boardman. Last minute change there to my notes. Sorry, Jim. Dave, it feels like a spectacular end of era moment. Damn Squib finishing with a whimper, and you wouldn't be surprised to see more of these performances as the season peters out now, because if we were going to find our resolve, this was the day to do it. Perfectly well set up. I don't give a shit about how potentially dangerous this lot are on the break. They should have had their arses handed to them. I'm fucking furious, man.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you look at them and, like, Elisa's got a bit of pace. Eze doesn't really. Mateta's not quick. Neither the wing-backs are rapid. And you're wondering how on earth are they able to counter us as effectively as they were in the first half. And the fact of it is, because we were really badly set up. We looked like a really badly coached team today and at the weekend. And it's very clear we learned nothing during the week against Atalanta, because the goal today was the exact same type of move that Atalanta were doing to us, building up with a triangle or a diamond on the side and just picking us apart and pulling players out of position. Too many poor performances, too many weak performances. But you know, the funniest thing about this team is, like, they could go and rattle off 6 wins in a row now in the league and lose the league by 2 points to Man City. That would be very in keeping with Liverpool under Jurgen Klopp, to do all the work after you needed to do it. That was just a shit show. And we talked about it on Thursday night, and I dismissed it as prattle. The best thing he can do now is probably go full strength in Bergamo on Thursday night and try and rescue that, because I think the league is done. I think City are going to win all their games the rest of the way. The one I'd look at, maybe they could drop points in the Spurs, but like you said, you wouldn't have faith in this team now to win 6 in a row. We haven't won 6 in a row in the league all season. Today it felt like an era dying, and it feels like it's the right time for Jurgen to go. When you're watching a performance like that in the week, United, it just feels like he's out of ideas, and it feels like the players are running out of steam, or have run out of steam.
Yeah, that's the thing, Jim, is quite how terminal this condition is. And does it actually really matter in terms of what's left for the season? The drop back to 4th place where Villa are is some 11 points, even with us having an absolute shit show in our last 2 league outings. And it's just, you know, as Dave said, we could potentially put together some sort of a run, but you know, the outside chances were about us staying ahead of City or keeping pace at least with their results, and hoping Arsenal would bottle it. That just, you know, got blown out of the water today by us effectively bottling it. I think that's where my anger is coming from, because to go out like this to see a season sort of die in its arse over 2 games in a row. The United thing was whatever it was, and it was where we lost our opportunity to control the fate of this league. But to go out with such a whimper in the European game on Thursday, and then today to not have the bollocks to fight back, and to concede the first goal again and the first chance again, and to be sloppy in possession, it's just not good enough. And it's very tempting, Jim, to say things like, well, we weren't ready to win this league anyway. But, the league was there for us. And I see people like Cy Brundage saying, maybe if we hadn't diluted our attentions across 4 competitions, that things would be different. It's hard to know, but it does leave you feeling more irritated and angry rather than sad and disappointed, because it feels like we left it behind us rather than we were beaten.
Yeah, I mean, it was a situation we didn't think we were going to get. I don't think any of us doing any podcast last August looking ahead to the season would have said we'd be having this conversation now, that we'd only be disappointed in the middle of April about us losing our chance to win the league. I don't think I certainly didn't expect that, and I doubt many of us did. But the thing is, once we got into that position, and we kept being in that position, we hardly lost all season. We lost against Spurs thanks to the ref. We lost against Arsenal, again, thanks to a ref. But on the whole, we were just winning wherever was thrown at us. But the thing that's done my head in all season is the amount of times, and that stat keeps coming up, the amount of times we've conceded first or we've gone behind. And yeah, great. I mean, I love seeing us come back from behind, but I don't want us to see us doing it in 80% of the games. I want us to just actually win some games without going behind first. And you feel as the season goes on that there's going to come a game where you're not going to have it in you. Last weekend, you go back to the start, before the kickoff last weekend, I really thought, we're in with a good chance here, got to beat these lot, but surely we can do that. And as that first half went on, you thought, we've got this. But the trouble was, our players just kind of felt, it just felt to me it was testimonial football last weekend. We threw away a game last weekend. It was still a draw, though. But the way the mood was amongst fans, and I don't know, but I'm guessing it was much the same amongst the players, was, we'd already thrown everything away then. We'd gone from having it in our hands to not having it in our hands. But in reality, it was almost in our hands. If we won all our games, City couldn't overtake us. And in my view, if there's one team going to slip up out of those two in what's left of the season, it's Arsenal. And any slip up from Arsenal would have opened it up for us. So rather than being desolate about losing 2 points last weekend, we should have been, right, okay, that's the blip, end the blip there. What did we do? Come out on Thursday. I don't know. I mean, we can talk about the games all we want. I just think the whole attitude had just changed. And today, again, it's just been the same thing all season, that first 20 minutes, any side comes to play Liverpool, go for it against us, because we just aren't asked for the first 20 minutes, at least, of any game. Over and over and over again, I've seen it this season. And often we'll concede, sometimes we'll get away with it. And it happened again today. Yeah. All season long, we've had that belief in us that we can pull it back. Today, we didn't. And the whole thing about tiredness as well, I mean, I get where people are coming from on that, but it's easy to forget that over the course of the season, we've used 700 players. Not all the players on the pitch today have actually played a lot of football. I mean, I don't know how many, Robbo's just getting, his season's just starting. There's a few players that haven't necessarily had to play every game all season long because of injuries, to be fair enough. But I just don't take tiredness as an excuse for this lot. I just don't accept that as an excuse. I think what's happened in the end is we've run out of ideas. The halftime talk today was probably like the LFC career defining halftime talk for Klopp, or it could have been. And I don't think anything was said at halftime that really, really did enough to change things, because although we had our moments, I don't think Henderson will have had a single thing happen to him today that'll give him nightmares. Except maybe for the Curtis Jones miss, but I'll give him sweet dreams, won't it?
Yeah, I think Curtis is the one who's going to have the worst nightmares on the back of that one for sure. And Dave, just in terms of addressing how the game was set up, the selection looked pretty strong, I think. I've given up trying to work out what it is exactly that's going through our manager's mind when he is picking these teams. But Bradley's back in, and Kanate stays in, and Robbo's starting, and we've got Jones, Endo, and McAllister in midfield. And there was a time when you'd have said, Well, it could be hard to argue against that trio. Maybe Dom Szoboszlai obviously would have a point to make about that. In his best form, there's no doubt, but he's in. But should have been a very solid three. And then we have a trio up top who just love to miss in the last few games. We have enough really high quality footballers there. It's easy to do a little bit of revisionism and say, that they're not good enough or whatever. I saw some people doing that, but there should have been easily enough there. But that midfield didn't really turn up. Our attack was poor. We had very much weaknesses showing in the back. I can't understand how we drop off across the board so kind of consistently amongst so many players, and that's what it really looked like. It was second to everything, poor passing. It's hard to understand.
It's very hard to understand. And we've heard about how many games we've had, and you mentioned the point that Brundish made about us kind of spreading ourselves too thin across all competitions. But when you really look at it, Alisson's only started 25 games this season. Ibu's only started 27. Szoboszlai started 28. Curtis Jones has started 22. There's a lot of lads there. Trent has only started 22. Now, we had two positives today. Two. Trent coming back, looked rusty, but he's back. And Alisson coming back. They're the positives to take from today. But I thought what was interesting was there was a leaked team that you probably saw, which is the same account that has been leaking the team for weeks on end, and the team turned out to be wrong.
Yeah. So
I do wonder if maybe a bit of a false flag was put out there to try and root out who the leak was, which we've seen the club do before. But you look at that team, Ali's back, brilliant. Like, that immediately lifts your feelings on what the game might be. He's the best keeper on the planet. The back four, Bradley's obviously done really well. Ibu and Virgil are our best pairing, and Robbo, he's finally fit. He's missed most of the season. He hasn't been particularly good this season, but I did think he had a really good first half, standing alone in a sea of shit. The midfield is weird to me, because that's the midfield that should give us control. That's the midfield that should give us kind of proper balance, because we commit the fullbacks so high up, it so often leaves us exposed behind. And we saw it today. Conor Bradley got caught out of position 15 times in that first half. But that midfield should, in theory, negate any of that by allowing us to keep the ball a lot better. But I'm sorry, Wataru Endo, remember when he first came into the team back in December, and we watched him play once or twice, and it wasn't particularly good, and we were like, this lad looks a little bit like he might have won a raffle to be here.
Yeah, he was getting monstered in tackles.
Yeah,
and the
he
game
lost
was
the ball
quite
15 times in a half.
Yeah.
15 times. Now, the thing I will say for him is he was basically brought in to be a squad player, and he's had to play too much football. 29 starts this year, and he's clearly carrying something. He missed the Sheffield United game. I don't think he's fully fit. I think he is carrying a knock of some sorts. So I would give him, a bit of a pass on it, but
because he had been excellent, Dave.
He had been. He had a really, really good run of games, but it just looks like he'd one game too many. He was awful. Alexis, that's probably the worst I've seen him play for us this year. There was just unnecessary sloppiness from Alexis that you don't expect. And I thought Jones had a shocker, and I really don't understand how he lasted 80 minutes. If he only had 20 minutes in him on Thursday, which is what Jurgen said, that after 20 minutes he was exhausted, how on earth does he have 80 in him? How can you expect him to have 80 in? And
what frustrates to me is what does that say to Palace? It's like Shankly with his old sort of lives of his own plays. Oh, he looks tired. He looks knackered. He's got a bandage on his leg. Build your own plays up to sort of putting the opposition down. And we've gone and said, oh, Jones is knackered, but we'll start him anyway. It just doesn't make sense, that to me.
It doesn't make sense at all. You're publicly putting it out there that this guy's not up to speed. With that front three, every one of them should go home and sit in a dark room and really think about their performance today. They were all poor. And what would have been a good idea maybe for us today would have been to play Mo Salah. Like, I was just sitting there wondering when he was going to bring him off the bench, because whoever that was playing right wing is unrecognisable from the fella that's been right wing for us for years. Darwin had one of those days where nothing came off for him. I do want to talk about him later, though, and especially in the context of Stephen Warnock's abysmal commentary on Opta Sport. And Diaz had one or two runs where he really took that fullback on, clearly had the better of him, but was far too often loose with his first touch, or cutting back in field into traffic, or picking the wrong option. Just from start to finish, back to front, like, there's very few Liverpool players that come out of today with credit. Robbo, largely the first half, second half he wasn't great. Elliott was busy when he came on, but nothing came out of it. And Gakpo. I thought Gakpo, when he came on, looked like the one person who might be able to make something happen for us. And that's it. Like, that's it. And to be fair, Ali made a couple of good saves, one in particular from Mateta, which I think was more luck than anything else. But everybody else, I mean, Virgil didn't do anything outright bad, but he fell over twice in big moments. And if not for a Robbo goal line clearance and a world-class save by Ali, that's 2 goals he's caused us by falling over. Like, I'm not being funny, but is no one going to these lads and saying, lads, what have you got in your feet? Like, the pitch, it has been clearly watered. It's been piss and rain for weeks. The pitch is going to be slick as anything. And lads are going out there, I assume, wearing blades, because he slipped, Mo slipped at least once, McAllister slipped, Ibu slipped, and there was somebody else that had one time or another as well. It might have been Diaz. Like, clearly there's an issue with what they're wearing on their feet as well. And that's planning. That's something that the coaching staff need to... Yeah, your blades might feel more comfortable, but you're going to need studs today, lads, because the pitch is like an ice rink. And Virgil, you're the captain. Like, you need to be setting the tone on this. Like, it's really, really poor and really disappointing today.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Jim, I've heard it said today, or read it said, I think to be more accurate, that, whereas it hasn't been Kloppo's finest hour the last couple of games, it's hard really to put too much on him when you've got players of such renown and ability absolutely making a hames of it in front of goal from yards out repeatedly, blowing chances. And it's yet another game in which the stats would tell you we should have absolutely monstered the opposition. Another game with 70% of the ball, another game with 21 shots, 6 of which were on target. The story of the game, if you just look at those kind of metrics, is Liverpool in constant possession and looking to fashion chances. There were some good ones made, and we coughed them up again. that is entirely on the players, as is the vulnerability when it came to their counterattacks, because we were just not tracking runners from midfield, as Dave said earlier on, allowing them to play little triangles around us down the flanks, and suddenly a lad is in acres or a lad is free in front of goal with the ball at his feet. And that was the story of the game against Atalanta as well. This really does speak to a falling off across the board of form, which is what I was just suggesting to Dave there as well. It's tempting, isn't it, to think that maybe it is just as simple as whatever that emotional high was, that it's just starting to ebb away, and the miraculous sort of nature of some of our wins has just begun to seep away. And perhaps what we're seeing now is just a load of lads who are, mentally as well as emotionally just spent in terms of that. Because how else do you explain the lack of, sang-froid in front of goal, the lack of just merciless finishing Harry was talking about the last day that we're so used to? Just take a breath, take a beat, finish that fucking opportunity because we need it. It just feels, doesn't it, like the wheels come off across the board. And I wonder, can you trace it back to just that wave we've been cresting has actually, I was wondering, had it broken against Atalanta? It really feels like it has, because there was I feel very little hope about what's left.
Yeah, I think I can almost go back to the Sheffield United game, because in that game, we came out winners in the end, but we were coasting in the game, and then we should have been coming out of that game with a massive scoreline. And maybe, I don't know whether as a squad we were, but as fans we were kind of secretly hoping that was the game that we'd come away with like a 7-0 win or something, really boost the goal difference and help us in that respect against Arsenal. And instead, there was a point where we looked like we might be dropping 2 points, and that was only against Sheffield United, and the fact we beat them says, it's as much as anything down to the fact that they're the worst team in the Premier League at the moment, certainly if the table's anything to go by. You played Man United, same kind of approach in a way that I think we're so focused, I suppose, on scoring goals, and then we're not doing well enough, but we do keep trying. I'll give us that. We keep trying to create the chances. We keep giving our forwards the chances, and then we don't put them away. But it's as if we're so focused on looking at scoring that no one's thinking about minding the shop at the back. And that isn't us, because the way we've played all season, when we have sort of got our act together, when we have sort of started to turn the game around again, you've seen our players, there'll be, what Robbo did today is a prime example. That kind of thing happens. That's a last ditch save, but there's always someone keeping an eye on the shop at the back. And yet it just doesn't feel like we had that. We didn't have it. We let ourselves concede against Sheffield United, which I think other coaches can look at that game as an example, and many others, and think, look, this is how you score against Liverpool. And what you do then is you stop them scoring against you. Atalanta, I don't know, without going, we don't want to redo a Raw on that game, but I feel like we forgot that was a 2-legged game. So focused on getting one back and not doing a good job of doing it, but still focused on trying to, that we let them in and in. So we conceded 3 when maybe a 1-0 defeat wouldn't have been the end of the world. It certainly would have been a nicer score to take into the game on Thursday, and certainly would have been a nicer score to go into this game on the back of. But again, today, it just feels like, I don't know, it's almost as if you see the other side attacking, and you look and you sort of think, there's players now way up the other end of the pitch going, oh yeah, they can score as well, can't they? It's not just, it's not the sort of sport where you take turns in attacking, you swap your defense and your offense or anything like that. It's just like we forget. And I think, I don't know, there's so many things it could be. And I think it's easy to forget as well that today, let's face it, if one of those chances from the front three had gone in, if Jota had rather than having his shot straight at the keeper, had actually put it to either side, it probably would have gone in. If they weren't playing, let's face it, Crystal Palace, give them some credit today. They were playing the way I remember us playing in Istanbul in 2005 at times. And when you're playing like that, you throw yourself at it. They'll be knackered after that today. We won't. I don't think we'll be quite as knackered. But, shot after shot, time after time, it wasn't going in. And sometimes you just need the rub of the green. We'd have been having a different conversation now. But would we? That's the thing. I think I was thinking to myself, I still felt we could get back into it as the game went on. I thought, certainly second half, early part of the second half, I thought we can get one back in. If we get one, we can get two. And if we get two, we can put this game to bed. But I was thinking at the time, thinking ahead to what we're going to say on here, that we're still going to be saying we can't keep doing this. We can't keep conceding. We can't keep looking so vulnerable. In the end, Palace didn't even try and score against us, you could tell. We were getting to a stage where they were, taking a foul when they could have maybe stayed on the feet and had a break. There was lots of signs of that. We weren't overcommitting men forward. And that, that makes it hard to break a team down. And Klopp came into a team that couldn't, we couldn't beat teams like Neil Warnock's sides and things like that. We couldn't beat teams that set out to defend Jose Mourinho sides. We couldn't do that. Yet we seem to find a way under Klopp. But again, is it going again? We just seem unable to come up with better chances. And like you say, maybe today we did get better chances, but we just weren't putting them away. But time and again, today was a ball into the box where one of their 18-foot centre-backs just headed it out. And it just, I don't know, it was just so frustrating. It felt like history repeating itself. And with the opposition today is the opposition that we played when it came undone under Rodgers that time. Only that time we played them away. And that time we went into that game talking about trying to get a high scoreline and almost forgot about, looking after the shop at the other end. And I don't know. I think when we look back, though, I think for whatever we say about Klopp, and there's going to be plenty of times to look back on Klopp's time, we are a much better side than the one that Steven Gerrard watched us lose against Stoke to. We're a much better side than we were then. We've had much more fun since then. But, the next manager does inherit a good squad with a lot of promise. He'll have Champions League football, unless we really screw up, to play it with. But the idea that the next manager is coming into a finished product is a long way short of the truth. And even if we do get the miracle now, the Premier League pull the finger out and actually charge City and actually do something about what they've done, and they get points deducted. If Arsenal fall apart, if we do somehow win the league despite all odds, it won't change a thing that this summer the new manager that comes in has got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. But City's charges are not going to come this year.
No.
They'll be next year. But the thing is, right, we did create some chances, but we're talking about why we're always so open. Why are we so open? And the reason we're always so open is because there's no real creativity in this team. Our way of creating goals, barring something special out of Trent, generally, sometimes Mo, but mostly Trent, our way of creating something is by trying to swamp the opposition by forcing so many numbers into their final third. And we eventually just batter them down. But there's nobody in our team, in our midfield, in our attack that you look at and you think, say Odegaard for Arsenal or De Bruyne for City, who just have that ability to completely unlock a defence with one touch and a pass. Alexis is a great passer, but that's not really his game. He's more that middle third player. I'm talking about that final third creative player. And I know Mo has, really high assists. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about that ability to play the pass before the pass. You go back and you look at assists by Bukayo Saka over the last 18 months and watch how many of them come from an Odegaard pass that puts him in behind the defence and unlocks the defence and gets them scrambling. Far too often, we're building it up slow. We're almost walking it up the pitch. Everybody pushes in. Now everybody, our team and their team, bar our goalkeeper, are in their half. And there's no space to play in. And we go wide. There's nothing there. We come back. We go to Virgil. We go to Ibu. We go to the right back. Plays it into Mo. There's nothing there. Back to the right back. And it's just constant with us. And it feels like when we get chances, it's because we go that bit more direct, or because we finally just overawed them with numbers into their box. And it's a little bit scruffy. You look at our chances today, the Darwin one is off a set piece. We've got a bunch of players piled into the box and he swivels and shoots on a bouncing ball. The Jota one is scruffy because it's actually a defender's toe poke that sends Dominic through for his cutback. The Mo one is scruffy. It's a hopeful ball in that Mo does well out of. And then the Curtis one is a counter-attack. But we don't get enough counter-attacking opportunities because we give up an early goal. teams don't need to attack us after that. You don't get counter-attacking opportunities very, very often when you're 1-0 down. And we're 1-0 down so often that we're taking away. Like, you look back at the Klopp teams that were great in 18-19 and 19-20 and 21-22, and we got so many counter-attacking opportunities because defensively we were really, really strong. And it feels like, particularly since we started the stuff with the defender the fullback inverting into midfield, but also when it's Bradley and Robbo playing as the fullbacks, we don't have that same defensive solidity. For whatever reason, it's just not there anymore. And a big part of it is the decline of Fabinho, and with all due respect, as good as he has been, Endo is not fit to lace the boots of Fabinho from those seasons that I mentioned. Like, that Fabinho is one of the best defensive midfielders the Premier League has seen. Endo's a solid player. Fabinho was a world-class player at his best.
And Endo should have been the backup. Endo should have been the backup to a new Fabinho. Like Kelleher's a great keeper, but he's no Ali.
Exactly.
You've got him if Ali's injured.
Yeah,
Endo
and for like a short run of games, you're like, absolutely fine. Great. The same goes for Bradley. I mean, he's played too many games. Same with Kwanzaa this season. Those lads were playing League One football last year. And yes, they've done really, really well. But we've asked far too much of them. Like, if we signed a player from League One, nobody would expect them to start 9, 10, 11 games out of 14. Nobody would expect that because it's such a big step up in level. We've just asked too much of certain players this year, and we haven't asked enough of certain other players, is my view on it. Like, there's not enough demands been put on certain players to deliver. And one of them is Núñez, without question. One of them is Darwin. One of them is Luis Diaz. One of them is Cody Gakpo. Like, these lads have been up and down all year, and yet there's no, we'll leave him out of the team for 3 or 4 games and let him fight his way back in. Oh, you're out for 1 game, but now you're back in. Just grand. Like,
yeah, it's an interesting point to be made here, and we might as well just bring it up here, and you can dismiss it, both of you, out of hand if you want. Only one person has on Twitter so far, and I couldn't really follow the logic of his argument. He didn't have one. It was just something about how he's young or something. But to your point, Dave, I guess injuries have dictated the asks on some of these young players to an extent. But we have in our ranks a young lad who's pulling up fucking trees, and did it when he came into the first team in a way that surely I thought deserved him getting a little bit more game time than he did based on what he did when he came in. And he's looking like really, really good at his at the younger level. He can't even find his way onto the bench today. And what I was thinking was, look, it's that time of the season where we've been relying on these kids all year. Why do we just stop? And why you look at the bench there today? Why is there not a place for Jayden Danns on that bench today?
I thought that against the Manx. Why we've dropped off and we haven't got young kids on the bench who, I don't know. I'm not saying they're the answer to everything, but there's some sort of energy about them. There's some real enthusiasm about them. Yeah,
they're fearless.
You know,
they're like an animal that's never encountered humans. They've no reason to fear humans.
They're playing like it might be the
same thing
game.
with these lads. But here's the honest answer as to why it is, Trev. It's Jurgen Klopp, because every season under Klopp, at the end of the season, young players just disappear from the squad. Go back and look at Curtis Jones, his first couple of seasons on the fringes of the first team. Disappears from like March onwards. Harvey Elliott, the exact same. Like, was it 2 years ago, the 21-22 season, where Curtis and Harvey had both played parts, and all of a sudden Harvey and Curtis are fighting out for one spot on the bench, and yet we're carrying 3 or 4 defenders on the bench.
Yeah.
Like, this is, if it wasn't for the injury to Joel Matip, Jarrell Kwanzaa's not on the bench today. He would have played far less to this day, but he wouldn't be getting a look in. I think if Trent had been fit enough to start, I think we'll see. If he's fit enough to start, I think we'll see Conor Bradley drop out of the match day squad as well, and Costa Simicas will come back into it. I think it just comes down to Jurgen at the end of each season shrinks the squad down to his senior pros and his more, tried and tested options. And that's kind of what he does. It's just kind of what he does every year. But I agree with you. Like,
just the McCabe aspect,
minutes.
Yeah,
just to give him 5 minutes, and he might grab a goal for you. And if he doesn't, well, none of the others are anyway. So what have you lost?
I remember Robbie Fowler breaking into the side because of injuries, and I mean, obviously, someone like Robbie's gonna break through, you would imagine anyway. But would he? You don't know. And he gets into the side because of injuries, hits the ground running, scores 5 against Fulham in his 3rd game or something, keeps his place, and in the end, Liverpool pay a load of money for Stan Collymore, and basically Fowler makes it that Stan Collymore can't get a game because there's only 2 places up front at the time. Everyone thought it was going to be Russian Collymore, and all of a sudden Fowler's taking one of the places. And that is because he was given chances and shot the opportunity to make mistakes, make some mistakes, learn from them, get the experience, because you can play all you like at academy level. It's nothing like playing at Anfield, is it? Nothing like playing at Old Trafford. It makes a difference.
It was also far lower. There were lower expectations on us back then, though. Like when Fowler, when McManaman, when Owen, when Gerrard, when all those players broke into the Liverpool team, they didn't break into a team that was competing at the top end of the league.
Although
we
I
were
would
a team that was battling it out for 4th each year.
And
I think if Fowler came through now,
too high.
But if Fowler comes through now, he doesn't get the run he got at the start under Souness.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
Sports Social Podcast Network.